going into your acquisition fit, okay? This is how you determine what the kind of businesses that you should be looking for, okay? Because there's lots of different ways to do this, and I'm going to walk you through a very systematic way for how to do this, okay? So when determining your acquisition fit, all right, the right kind of business for you depends on the fit, okay? So if you purchase the wrong kind of business for yourself, you're going to make things a lot more difficult for you. I'm going to walk you through a process for how to do this, to analyze your skills, your strengths, your weaknesses, your capabilities, your resources, etc., to help you determine what you should go after, okay? Because when you work with a broker, for example, and you're looking for an opportunity to acquire, there are the thousands and thousands and thousands of them, okay? And that we're just talking in this area, right? Let alone across the country, right? So, but you need to make sure you target the right opportunity, okay? So we're gonna help you identify the business profile that you should target based on your skills, your interests, and your growth strategy, okay? Not mine, yours. Every single person in here conceivably could have a different target, right? And that's completely fine. It's based on what is the right fit for you. Okay, so in your workbook, there is a fit scorecard, okay? We're going to do this very briefly, okay? But I want you to really analyze for yourself based on your skill set, okay, of how you would rate yourself based on your strengths, okay? You're internally for you. How much risk tolerance do you have, right? This is just, like any good financial advisor is going to ask you this. Right? What's your risk tolerance? They need to know that, right? If you're like, I can't accept any risk. I literally can never lose in the market ever. Well, that's going to be really tough, to achieve zero risk and never lose any money. But, perhaps we do some, T-bills or something. Something like that, right? It's just a different approach. It's a different kind of investment, right? So how would you rate yourself in terms of your comfort with leadership, in terms of staff management? How comfortable do you find yourself in general industry knowledge? And you could also break this apart. On the right side, there's notes, so take notes. Really utilize this as an opportunity to assess yourself in terms of your skill set, okay? So I want you to work on that. And then the next thing we're going to go right into is briefly now target and really journal on what 2 areas are your strong suits, okay? And if you find other skill sets that I don't have on there, just write them in, right? Just write them down, right? If I've missed, hey, David, you didn't hit accounting, okay? I'm really good at accounting. Write it in there, my friend, right? Make this work for you. What areas are your strongest? But more importantly here, you want to identify your strengths and then you want to hit your weaknesses, okay? Because they're both important for you to know and understand. Not just your strengths and not just your weaknesses, you need both. You need to understand both. Because then what you can do is you need to leverage your strengths, okay? If you're outstanding in the back end, okay, you are just like financing and, financial reports and accounting, and you're just like, David, I love a good spreadsheet at 5 o'clock in the morning. That just gets me going, right? I mean, great. That's good for you to know that, right? But if you're like, David, if I got up in the front of the room and I led a team, that would just give me an anxiety attack or a panic attack, right? So you should know that. Maybe going into the public speaking business is not for you, right? If that was something that you experienced. But if you have really amazing organizational accounting skills, that's an outstanding skill, but you need to also be aware of it, okay? So what can you do to leverage your strengths, okay? And what can you do to develop the weaker areas, all right? That's really, really important. This will help you determine your target, all right? And we're going to continue to drive this in, all right? So let's take a minute now and go through this so you can really determine and assess your strengths and your weaknesses, okay? Because then you can look at how can you leverage your strengths and really lift up your weaknesses, okay? Let's take about 60 seconds to do this, all right? Okay, just keep on working while I'm talking, okay? If you're not even looking at me and your head is in the book the whole time, I am just fine with that, okay? That means you're working hard, okay? That's what this event is all about. I want you to assess yourself and continue to build a plan as we go, okay? All right, so now we're going to use this to start to determine your fit profile in terms of your acquisition target, all right? Because again, if you go to a broker and say, yeah, I want to buy something. Holy crap, that's really vague. That'd be like, that's even worse than selling a realtor, I want to buy a house. And you're like, just just buy something for me. You know, I'll give you the money. I don't even care what it is, right? It's like, what are you talking about? Like, we need to determine what it is that you're going after, okay? And using your skill set will help you hone in on what should you be pursuing and in what industry, okay? So let's start peeling this back a little bit at a time, all right? So do you want a business that's similar to yours, right? Honestly, that is probably the easiest way to start, although you don't have to. Okay? If it's a similar business to yours, either something that you could bolt on or it's just an additional book of business that you're bringing into what you already have, that's the easiest way to go, right? Like, for example, the 3 acquisitions that I've made, all right, for those that weren't here at the beginning, I've executed on this strategy 3 times, one of which was over a 7-figure opportunity, and I paid 0 for all 3 of them combined, okay? And the reason why I was able to do that is the strategy, number one, the strategy is laid out here. But number 2, because I was bringing in basically similar books of business into my own. You see what I'm saying? So I was able to execute on it extremely effectively because I wasn't bringing in something different, right? So it was easy to start there, but you don't have to limit yourself to that, okay? It's just generally a starting point. But again, think more creatively based on your skill set, okay? So you can do something similar or something totally different. All right, what industries do you think would be ideal for you, okay? And again, creatively, okay? Use your skill set to help you determine the industries, right? You could get into anything as long as, caveat, right? If you want to own a medical practice and you're not a doctor, sorry, you can't do that. Here in California, you're not going to own a medical practice if you're not a doctor. So obviously there's limitations, right? Licensing and those kinds of things, right? You can't own a law firm yet if you're not an attorney. Okay, very soon that's probably going to change, which is kind of scary. You're going to have private equity firms gobbling up law firms, and that's when things are going to get really interesting right here. Right? So when you have, private equity just dominating the legal market, legal space and just, manipulating attorneys and stuff, that's going to be interesting. But currently we're not there, so just, stand tight. Okay, but anyways, okay, what industries? Do you prefer a people-driven business or a more of a service-driven business? It's an extreme difference, okay? Versus kind of a consulting business and something that just provides strict services to commercial business owners, okay? Very, very different, okay? How much interaction are you looking for, right? That kind of thing. And nothing here means that you need to do it, okay? Hear me on this. When you acquire a company, you should not be acquiring a job. Don't acquire a job. You're acquiring an asset that's going to produce income for you. You're going to lead the company. You're going to run it like an owner. Okay, so don't think for a second, oh, I'm going to step in there. Oh, I don't know how to do consulting. Who gives a shit? You hire a consultant, right? Or whatever. You see what I'm saying? All right. What annual revenue? This is all in your workbook. I want you to be going through this. Okay, it's the next section. What target should you? Justin talked a couple of minutes ago about taking bite-sized pieces and building yourself up. Very doable strategy, very workable strategy. Let me grab up some little ones. They're a lot faster to close, less complicated, less staff, less customers, less clients. They're also similar. Like let's say we target things that are similar. Those are obviously a lot easier to execute on. Okay, a lot faster, easier for you. Okay, so but it doesn't mean you have to do that. All right. Now, to get lending, if you are going to go for lending, you would need some kind of track record. You obviously need to satisfy the bank's terms and all that kind of stuff, right? So it kind of depends. All right. So all in your workbook, you're going to be answering these questions. What annual revenue range feels like a right target for you? Okay. There is no wrong answer, by the way. Okay. Now, if you haven't crested $1 million in gross revenue and you want to target a $50 million business, interesting is what I would answer there. Interesting, right? Maybe you're going to have to get some investors. You're going to have to get, you're going to have to get a really good team behind you. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but, maybe just consider that, right? That kind of thing. Just kind of consider that. If my gross revenue range is $1 billion and I haven't hit $100 million, that's an interesting goal. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but, anyway, so we're going to target things. It's okay to hit a conservative goal because then you're going to exceed it, something like that, okay? So that's the business fit model, and let's keep going, okay? Again, in your workbook, all right? I want you to create your specific target, at least your initial starting point. Could you revisit this in 30 minutes or an hour or tomorrow or a week from now, a month from now, whatever, and completely rewrite this? Of course you can. Okay, we want to have an initial target for now that you want to bolt on, okay? So you're going to be answering the questions in your book. What industry do you want to target, okay? What industry? It could be something that excites you. It could be something that's similar to yours. It could be something that will add another service type to what you already do, okay? These are all ideas to get the juices flowing here, all right? What revenue range, all right? You could base this on the revenue range that you already have, okay? If you're comfortable with operating a $5 million business, bringing in $1 million business is going to be like nothing for you, okay? Because you're already doing 5, right? Versus if you are just cresting 100,000 and you want to bring in a $2 million business, that may be overwhelming. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's just things to consider. Remember, the target that you want needs to be the right fit for you, okay? It needs to be the right fit because I want you to be successful, okay? That kind of thing, all right? What valuation target, all right? Value is different than revenue, okay? We're going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. If you don't understand, well, a $2 million business is not worth $2 million. The valuation is different than the revenue, okay? So we're going to use both, okay? The valuation is the purchase price of what they're wanting. Revenue range is obviously what it's producing in sales, right, or profit, okay? Team size, that's a big one. Really think about this. If you've got an army of 1 right now and you want to bring in a team of 50, it doesn't mean that you can't do it, but you're going to need to bring in a good team to help you do that, okay? Because you likely don't have leadership skills to be able to lead a team of 50, okay? So, I mean, for myself, in terms of the companies that I have, our 2 primary businesses are our 2 law firms, okay? We have our estate planning firm, and then obviously California Business Formations. California Business Formations, I like it, like kind of where we're at right now, in terms of we have a smaller team, okay? Now, Shoup Legal, our estate planning firm, has over 30. Okay, so we have both ends of the spectrum, all right? My wife happens to be an amazing leader of larger teams. She's really, really good at it, so it fits her skill set perfectly, okay, in terms of because she runs that firm, okay? So, again, doesn't mean that I can't lead a room of 30. In fact, when I was in the Marines, I had 125 men platoons that I was leading, okay? So I've done it before, but I can't lead them the same way. I don't think my team would accept me as a corporal. Okay, anyways, have a little bit of fun here, guys. Okay, so anyways, look at this location. Where is the business, okay? Depending on your assets and the resources that you have, depends on where the business should be located, okay? If you're buying your first rental property on the other side of the country, right, that may be a little bit more challenging unless you're really accustomed to managing properties from a distance. You see what I'm saying? Like you just need to think through this stuff so you can develop a plan that makes sense, okay? And then the strategic purpose of the business that you're going to do, okay? Are we going to bring in more synergy into the business? Is it purely just a cash play? Is it I want to bring in hard assets? Or I want the name and the reputation of this company. I've seen plenty of acquisitions. I just want this person's name. I want the business name. I want the domain, and I want the phone number because it's got a really strong presence in the community. I don't give a shit about the clients. I just want that. You know, that kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? What is the purpose for the business that you're looking at? Go through that and create your target so that way you can really have an idea about what you're going after. Once you complete that, then I want you to answer the following questions, okay? Basically, just 2 questions for you, all right? If you own this business that you have now started to build, you now are starting to build a target, okay? And even if you don't finish it all here, that's okay. Come back to it, okay? I want to make sure we keep on time. But if you own this business in 12 months, what about it would excite you? Okay, really think about it, right? If I closed on this and everything that I'm visualizing now came to fruition, okay? What about it would excite me? And then also, I want you to also plan on what are some resistance points, what potential overwhelm would I feel, okay? What kinds of overwhelm would I feel, or anxiety, or anything else. Replace overwhelm with whatever word you want that would be a challenge for you. How can I prepare for this, okay? If I know that I want to bring in a team of 30, and my current team is a team of 5, if I've never led a team of 30 before, then, again, you just need to prepare for this. Who am I going to bring in to manage this team? Okay, what kind of director of operations, what kind of CEO, what kind of leadership team am I going to bring in to be able to do this? That's how we plan, okay? Or am I bringing in an equity partner? Am I going into business not by myself? I want to bring in 2 other people that are going to run this company together with me. It's going to be a team of 3, etc. Right? I'm going to bring in complementary skill sets into this business. Right? You need to look ahead to identify challenges, resistance points, and opportunities via your strategic plan. Okay? Resistance points and challenges is not the issue. Not planning for them is the issue. Okay? Every mature entrepreneur is going to be going through this process in all areas of their business strategically planning for the next year and all that kind of stuff, okay? So here's no different. Here's no different. It's just a new topic unless you've already done it, right? Then it's just, okay, now I'm gonna make a new plan, right? So let's go through this, and then we should have a good initial fit for you to take a look at. My goal for you, guys, is that you can now take this and you can go to a broker and you can say, here's what I'm looking for. I'm open to suggestions, but here's what I'm looking for. And now a broker is really no different than a realtor, right? They're all right, I gotcha. Boom, 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 and they will present to you acquisition targets, okay? Based on what you're bringing to the table versus, doggone it, I'd like to buy business. How useless is that when you're talking to a broker? It'd be like going to a dealership and saying, I want to buy a car. Well, that's great. That's useful. I got a lot of cars back here. You want to give me a little more, direction? Okay. So anyways, go through this exercise now. We got about a minute. Okay. Thanks, guys. So to summarize this business fit kind of analysis, right? And really, you could have multiples. Okay, obviously, you can have multiple opportunities that you want to go after, okay? I'd really like you to focus in on, because again, our point of doing this is we have a plan to execute on, okay? But if you don't have a target, it's going to be difficult for you to really have a conversation about this, okay? In terms of like really having an actual strategic conversation with anybody about it, okay? But really, what we want to do, and what I want you to keep in mind, is if you hit the wrong business, you're buying yourself a source of worry, stress, a lot of time, a lot of potential money loss, et cetera, if it's truly the wrong opportunity, okay? But then again, if you target the right opportunity for yourself, that's where you can create a powerful cash flowing asset that will accelerate your wealth, okay? And obviously, your broker will help you, obviously, right? But if you have an idea of, here's my skill set, this is the location, this is the size of the business, this is the staffing that I like, and you have all this stuff basically planned out, at least at a preliminary level, you are way ahead, okay? You will be able to execute on something very, very quickly, okay? So let's move on now, and basically, like I said, know your fit before you start hunting, right? And you really start looking, okay? You should have at least some preliminary plan, okay? As far as what you're wanting.